Cuphead is a really good game. When it came out in 2017, it was instantly loved by a lot of people, including me. The entire game is hand-drawn to look like an old cartoon, and everything looks amazing. The story is pretty simple but interesting too. Cuphead and his brother Mugman were gambling at a casino and lost their souls to the devil. After that, since they wanted to keep their souls, the devil told them that they could repay their debt by taking the souls of other people who owe him, and that's where we start. Now for the gameplay, it's pretty addicting. It's full of 19 different boss battles, all with their different gimmicks and strategies. All of them are incredibly difficult, and the game is hard to even beat casually. I did beat it though, and I wanted more. So here we are today. Here's my Cuphead speedrun. But before we get into the actual video, I just wanted to point out that around 70% of the people who watch my channel aren't subscribed. If you end up enjoying the video and want to see more speedrun content, feel free to, because it helps out the channel a lot. But anyway, here we go. Cuphead starts out with a cutscene that we skip and goes straight to some old dude named Outer Kettle. Because of our predicament, Outer Kettle gives us powers to take out all the debtors. So we get that, leave his house, and make it to the overworld. Then we get some money from a random person sitting on the bridge and go right into the only run and gun level we'll be doing. Throughout Cuphead, there are several optional run and gun levels you can do. These are levels where you just try to make it to the end rather than beat a boss, and they give you coins which you can use to buy upgrades. We want to do this level to get 5 more coins and have a total of 8. The level also isn't too difficult. The main strategy is just always be shooting and dashing forward to go as fast as possible. Then it's just a matter of collecting coins and dodging enemies before we finally make it to the end. This leads us into the shop where we can buy our 2 main weapons of the speedrun, the lobber and spread shots, but I'll explain why these are useful as we use them. For now, we equip them to Cuphead and move on to our first boss fight, the root pack. This is a pretty simple boss fight where we have to deal with 3 different vegetables. First, we have the squash, where we get really close to him and shoot directly in his face with the spread shot. The idea behind the spread shot is it does a lot of damage, but has low range, so this is necessary. It's not too difficult as the boss has a really simple attack pattern that you can just memorize, and all we have to do is jump over his shots as they come. Next is the onion boss, and while we wait for him to spawn, we set up a lobber trap. The lobber bounces multiple times before it disappears, so we can shoot multiple attacks in the air and they'll all hit the onion as he spawns. Then we do 2 of our ultimate attacks, or EXs, at the ground next to him. You can see how many EXs you have based on the amount of cards on the bottom left of the screen, and you fill up these cards by shooting enemies or parrying pink attacks like we did in the run and gun stage. These are obviously just more powerful attacks that will be used a lot. Now if we shoot a lobber EX on the ground, it actually hits the boss twice and does double its normal damage, and this will be useful multiple times in the run. After we're done with the onion, we just have the carrot boss, where we want to shoot him with our spread shot and EX with the lobber until he dies. We can also intentionally take damage so we don't need to dodge his attacks and finish him off pretty easily. There we go, 1 out of 19 done. The next boss battle we need to face is against Ribby and Croaks. These are 2 frogs that work together to take us out, and they share the same health points. The initial strategy is to get close with the spread shot and shoot them with as much damage as possible. They have 2 different attacks they can do, but they're easy to dodge, so it isn't too bad. Once you get them low enough on health though, the next phase is also not too bad. One tries to blow you back with a fan while the other shoots balls at you, but all we need to do is pay attention and go through. We'll also want to use our EXs whenever we can, but that's going to be true for most bosses, so for the future, I'll gloss over that unless there's a specific strategy with them. Finally, they get into their last phase, which is a slot machine. Here they can use 3 different attacks. Luckily for this run though, we got the best attack 2 times in a row. The coin attack is super easy to dodge and perform EXs while you do it, so the rest of this boss was really easy. And that leads us to the 3rd fight of the run, and it's against Goopy Legrand. He's a giant slime monster that jumps around to damage you. We pretty much just follow him around with our spread shot until he switches phases. He also sometimes uses a face attack, but we can duck under that and keep shooting him. Then his 2nd phase is the exact same strategy, but he's bigger. It just makes him easier to hit though. Finally, we get to his last phase where he turned into a gravestone. In this phase, we just want to hit the face of the gravestone as much as possible. Since we also conserved our health, we can just take damage and keep hitting him to beat the boss faster. But that's about it. He's dead after just a bit more effort. Next, we do a quick airplane tutorial that we skip out of to go to Hilderberg. See, while most of the boss battles have you play as regular Cuphead, some of them give you airplane fights. In my opinion, these are generally easier, but it can depend on the person. For Hilda, we just need to follow her movements and constantly shoot her. She'll turn into different animals and try to hit us with her laughs, but it's not too hard to dodge. We can also use a super EX once we get 5 cards, which does some good area damage. After that, it's more or less the same stuff, following her movements and getting her to freak out and turn into a moon for some reason. In this phase, she'll stick her face out at us, which is a perfect time to use regular EXs because they'll hit her multiple times. Other than that, it's just some simple dodging and we make quick work of her. This is when we get to the 5th boss, Cagney Carnation. I'm just gonna call him the Flower though. Originally, when I was first speedrunning this game, the Flower is my biggest reset point. His moves were just weird. The good thing is, since I reset so many times, I got good enough to beat him consistently. Who would have guessed? Practice actually pays off. So I learned if he uses his down attack, shoot up. If he uses his slipper, jump. And if he uses his seeds, jump in EX. The first phase is just reacting to his moves, and the second phase is pretty much the same. He does take up more of the map in the second phase though, so we need to always be on the platforms. But after playing this guy enough times, he becomes really easy to read. It's just use the lobber, jump, use an EX, and slowly take out his health. So hey, another one off the list, and now we're moving into the next area after a short talk with King Dice. Here's where we get into another fight, which used to be a huge reset point for me, Baroness von Bonbon. Bonbon is annoying because she has multiple different mini bosses that you need to defeat before attacking her. Also, there's more stage hazards with each boss. We got a good start with the Gumball boss, who you just need to lead in a circle and spread shot. But I was bad and got hit. That kinda hurt. Next phase, we got the chocolate guy who flies around and shoots his body all across the stage. This is really difficult to deal with, but after playing this fight way too many times, I had a good read on how to finish him off. Finally, we got the Muffin. This dude jumps around the map and causes damage around him. We stay away from him and be a little patient, and he's not too bad. This puts us in the final phase of Bonbon, but while she's getting that ready, we can do multiple spread shot EXs directly on her, making every shot hit her, doing massive damage. If I saved all my hearts, I could have damage boosted and finished her off with this strategy, but I'm bad, so I had to back off and beat her with the regular shot. Oh yeah, this is the reason why we switched back to that for the Bonbon fight, by the way. But anyway, like any other boss, she falls and we can move on. Now, before we get to the next boss, we want to talk to this random guy who upgrades our airplane with another attack, which you'll see when we use it in the next fight against Wally Warbles. Wally is another pretty simple air fight. We follow his moves and dodge his attacks. We also want to parry one of the pink birds to fill up our meters and use a super once he gets to this stage so we can finish it quickly. The next phase, he becomes a baby bird and we want to get as close to the little guy as possible. He periodically tries to shoot us, but that can be parried and the dude doesn't take too long to finish. Finally, the last phase of Wally is him on a literal stretcher, but that doesn't stop us. We want to use our new attack to hit him from above and use EX moves on the side of him to hit him multiple times. Also, when Wally dies, the birds carrying him take out salt and pepper, so that's interesting. Anyway, hey look, we have another flying fight right away. Djimi the Great. I probably pronounced his name wrong, so I'm just gonna call him the Genie. In the Genie's first phase, he'll try to attack us with some projectiles. We'll want to parry as many as possible and hit him with all the EXs we have. After that is an auto-scroller part where we need to dodge the blades and shoot his faces to advance. Then it's a bit of fighting in his coffin phase, but since we damaged him so much earlier, this doesn't take too long. The Genie kinda gets desperate here, so he copies us and uses a replica to attack us. Yeah, it's a 1-to-1 imitation. Here we want to hit him with a few EXs before charging up our super while dodging attacks before using it to finish off this phase. Then we finally get into his last phase, yeah I know he has a lot, where he becomes really big. This kinda just means he's easy to hit though, periodically dodging attacks from his eyes and the floating pyramids while using some EXs to whittle down his health. Finally, we can move on, this dude takes forever. And it's time for an even weirder fight, Beppy the Clown. Beppy is aggravating because there are so many dumb things that can hit you. He starts out hanging out in a bumper car while some ducks fly above the stage. I really focus on hitting the ducks because we'll have to jump over Beppy multiple times and I don't want to take unneeded damage. After a bit, he'll go into his next phase. His head becomes a big balloon and he uses balloon animals to attack you while the roller coaster comes by periodically. This part isn't too scary, but we want to kill him as fast as possible. This is because we want to beat his next phase before the roller coaster comes by. Unfortunately, I got bad RNG and he spawned on the wrong side of the stage, but we catch up to him and shoot him from below. Here's where it got a bit scary though. The roller coaster came by and I got hit, leaving me with only a single heart. Thankfully, I finished this phase without taking any more damage and there was only one more phase left. We can set up a lobber trap and hit his final phase with multiple spread shot EXs. Then we need to stay above the roller coaster coaster for a bit, continue to hit him, and finally finish him off with one last EX. This was actually terrifying though, because I was incredibly close to getting hit by a baseball, but hey, doesn't matter, we made it through. Now it's time to get on to the hard part of the game. Our next fight is the dragon Grim Matchstick. The dragon starts out with hitting us with some I-beams, but we can parry some of them. Then he has this annoying attack where he'll try to use fireballs and his tail at the same time. I usually try to stay far back because this part is really easy to get hit in. The next phase is easy though. The dragon starts shooting out fire people which periodically try to jump and hit us. That's all we need to focus on though, so you just have to watch them and see if any are starting the jumping animation. Finally, after a bit more damage, the dragon sprouts 3 heads, and I hate this phase. The heads will shoot fireballs, but if we hit them with our shots, they burst and are even harder to dodge. The strategy for this is only shoot when I'm jumping far above the dragon heads to make sure this doesn't happen. He also has a fire breath attack, but we just need to stay above him, and it's perfect time to shoot some EXs. The final phase is terrifying for me because I have lost way too many runs to it, but I finally finished it off by being patient and sticking to the plan. Now hey look, we can go on to the third island. King Dice tries to talk to us one more time, but no one really cares what he has to say, and we go into another major reset point for me, Rumor Honeybottoms. The B area starts out with a police officer charging at us and throwing out some weird exploding orb thing. We have to dodge the random worker bees too, who look way too sad. I try to stay far away from everything because we really don't want to get hit here. Then we have a couple more phases where we fight the queen bee. She starts out with a ball attack which follows us, but it's pretty slow and easy to dodge. Then she uses a triangle attack, which also isn't too bad, but you'll notice something. I stopped shooting at her. I use my cards to see how much damage I've done in this fight, and once it reaches around this point, I stop. This is because we don't want to get her into her next phase yet, since we can do more damage for that phase during this one. After she gets into her next attack pattern, we're free to attack again and get more and more damage. The phase is easy to dodge, and it gives us a ton of time to attack. Then in a little bit, she comes back down and turns into a plane. But because we did so much damage earlier, this phase is really quick to beat, and that's good because it's usually not a fun one. Next, we have to fight Dr. Call's robot. The robot fight starts with us needing to attack 3 different points: its head, chest, and belly. Once all 3 spots are destroyed, its heart comes out, and we can shoot that for a while until it breaks. Here's where we have a really cool strat where we can skip the next phase by shooting the robot's flying head and using a super, doing just enough damage to end the phase. Then unfortunately, we get into the robot's final phase. Here the scientist uses a bunch of projectiles and we need to dodge all of them. The phase is annoying because this goes on for a very long time and it's just constantly paying attention, which can get really stressful. Finally though, we beat it with just 1 hit point left, so that was a little too close for comfort. Okay, time for some easier bosses at least. Let's go to Sally's stage play. Sally is a woman who is about to get married but decides to fight us for some reason, probably because I'm trying to take her soul. Her first phase is pretty easy where we just shoot her with her spread shot and she loses all her health. She has slow moving attacks, so this isn't a problem at all. In the next phase, it's pretty much the same thing, but she also has robots to attack us and a baby that throws bottles at us the whole time. I hate this kid. And third phase is when Sally turns into, I'm not actually sure what this is supposed to be, and uses meteors, large waves, and lightning to damage us. But she's close to the ground, so it's a good time to get some close quarter spread shots. We finally get to her last phase where she flies around the top of the screen while an umbrella chases after us and roses fall onto the stage. Here I just want to jump up and spread shot her, eventually getting rid of the final bits of her health, so yeah, not too bad. And the next fight is also pretty easy because we just need to beat the rat, Werner Werman. The rat starts out with some relatively easy to dodge attacks, and we just use our regular shot on him. And yeah, like I said, the attacks are easy to dodge, but I somehow got hit twice, so that was fun. At least in the next phase, we just need to switch between the top and bottom platform while shooting him with our spread shot. A lot of stuff comes after you, but it's all slow and relatively stress-free. Finally, we get to the cat phase where we take out his health with a bunch of spread shot EXs, and it's not bad at all. The cat has very slow attacks, and it's just a matter of not being bad. Yeah, I'm also surprised that I succeeded at that. Anyways, our next boss is Captain Brinnybeard. This fight can be kind of annoying, but also isn't too bad. We mostly want to stay close to the captain and hit him with spread shots. Then when he tries to attack, we can back up and use our regular shot, always being mindful of the barrel that tries to fall on us. As the fight goes on, the captain will send out more animals and the boat will try to spit at us, but I maintain my distance and slowly decrease his health. This is when the boat gets sick of Brinnybeard and kicks him off. For this phase, I like staying back and taking my time to dodge the fireballs. Then when the boat uses a charge attack, we can duck under it while getting some spread shot damage engine. After a bit of this, the boat finally gets beat, and we move on to Cala Maria. Maria is a mermaid, I think, but she uses multiple sea creatures to attack us. She can also combine attacks, making them hard to dodge, as you can see with me taking damage. This is when I died. Yeah, so a little backstory for this run. More than anything, I wanted to get a deathless speedrun. So for about 3 days, that's all I did. This resulted in around 20 hours of just constant failure. But this was the farthest I've ever gotten, so I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, I'm really happy I did that for my sanity. Anyways, in our second attempt against Maria, we dodged her attacks in a much better way and got onto her Medusa phase. Here she can freeze you and you need to mash out of it. She also gets eels to attack us as well, but they have pretty easily dodgeable attacks, so it wasn't too bad. Finally, we got onto this phase and now she's just ahead. It's pretty much the same idea now. Dodge her attacks and mash out of the freezing until she's dead. We also didn't even take any damage here, so why couldn't I have done this first try? Whatever, let's move on to our final 3 bosses of the game. The 17th fight of the game is the Phantom Express, and yeah, I got hit right away, so I quickly reset because I really didn't want another death. Anyways, usually this first phase isn't too hard. We just shoot his eyes and dodge the pink things that the flying pumpkins drop, not too bad. The second phase ramps up the difficulty though, because we need to move the cart back and forth by parrying the sides. We always want to be right under his head so we can use spread shots and not get hit by the hands. The things that the pumpkins drop can also move the cart and mess everything up, so we need to be wary of that. The third phase has 2 different heads sprouting up from both sides of the train. We can use spread shot EXs to do a lot of damage, but their attacks can get a bit annoying. Eventually though, they crumble and we're on to the last phase. Here's where the train becomes a running furnace. We need to open it up by hitting the pink tail and then shooting its heart. When we do this, it shoots a bunch of fireballs at us, so we need to constantly dodge those. Honestly, not too bad, so finally we got it done and there were only 2 more fights. Now before we get to the devil, it's time to fight King Dice. King Dice has an interesting mechanic where you hit a 3-sided dice and will fight whichever boss you land on throughout this track. There are also extra hearts on the board if you hit them, so I actually decided to reset the fight once to get better placement, so the hearts match the fights I wanted to do. The first fight we hit a 3 and fight this boss. We had a cool strategy where once he comes to our side, we damage boost through him and he shoots at literally nothing. Then we get a ton of free damage and he's really easy to finish. Next we want to get a 1 on the dice to get a safe spot and then another 3. This puts us at the skeleton horse. Here we just need to dodge his present attack and the jumping horsemen at the bottom. We only need to be aware of the blue ones though, since they're the only ones that jump, so it's not too bad. Even though I lost 2 hearts. Anyways, we get another 3 on the dice and fight literally the easiest boss in the game. The pool ball just kind of sits there, sometimes sending out a beam of light, and we just need to use EXs on him and dodge his very easy attacks. Now finally, after those 3 mini bosses, we can roll a 2 for another safe spot and another 2 to fight King Dice. In this phase, we need to parry the pink cards he sends out while shooting him with our spread shot. This isn't too bad once you get used to it, and it's easy to get some steady damage out. We can also EX in between the card waves to get some extra damage, and eventually King Dice falls. It's time for the final boss, the Devil. The Devil is a hard boss. He has a lot of different annoying attacks he can use, but as long as we're careful, it's not too bad. Too bad I wasn't careful. But we just want to dodge the different attacks that come out and play smart. You don't need to rush this fight, just react, keep track of his minions, and stay calm. That didn't stop me from getting hit a second time in the first phase though. Yeah, I was stressed. But the next phase isn't too bad. His hurt boxes are on his eyes and they're pretty big targets. Other than that, we dodge his axe attacks that come through and parry whenever he uses his weird ear bomb attack. Not too bad. Once he gets into his angry phase, we have some more things to worry about and oh, wait. I just died. Yeah. But I'm so far in the run that I might as well finish it. So as I was saying, once we get into the angry phase, we have to worry about the purple monsters on the side of the devil, but their attacks are pretty predictable. Then we EX his eyes to get a ton of damage as we go through. I did get hit a few times in this phase, but that was fine because I almost never die in the final phase when he cries like a baby. Here there's only 1 platform and are you kidding me? Yep. I died again. Fine. One last time, we make it to this last phase. When the poker chips fall down on a platform, we do this little movement where we jump around them. It's awesome. And we finish out the devil and finally complete our speedrun 47:15, which, looking on speedrun.com, puts us at 148th place. We are done. Hey, I know there were some big mistakes at the end of the run. I just can't do this again. Yeah, Cuphead speedrunning broke me.